In the 13th year of the Hongwu reign, that of the Ming dynasty, a thrilling confrontation between father and son unfolded within the city of Nanjing. Crown Prince Zhu Biao, driven by his desire to rescue an elderly Confucian scholar, openly clashed with his iron-fisted father, Emperor Zhu Yuanzhang, in an era of supreme imperial power, who dared challenge the emperor's decree that of extermination of all 9 clans. Yet, Zhu Biao resolutely chose to risk his life, even committing suicide by drowning to demonstrate his resolve. The essence of this conflict lay far beyond the fate of Song Lian alone. It was a fierce clash between benevolence and harsh rule at the heart of power that the early Ming dynasty. The aftermath of the Hu Weiyong case had yet to subside, and Nanjing was enveloped in a state of despair. The once bustling Zhuke Street was now deserted, and the imperial guards patrolling the streets, their armor gleaming, exuding a chilling awe. Civilians, fearful of danger, acted with increasing caution, keeping their doors closed for fear of embarrassment. Even the prince's mentor was not spared the storm. Song Lian, seemingly gentle and frail, was in reality a man of clear mind and cautious conduct, a role model for scholars across the country. He had intended to retire to the mountains and enjoy a carefree and leisurely old age. But tragically, he was swept into the political vortex, from which he found it difficult to escape unscathed. The root of this turmoil lay in the harsh reality that laws trump family ties. The Hu Weiyong case implicated many, and Song Lian's grandson, Song Shun, was imprisoned for his close association with Hu Weiyong. Zhu Yuanzhang was furious, believing that his years of patronage towards Song Lian had only fostered a dangerous threat. Zhu Yuanzhang believed that imperial power was supreme, and anyone who challenged it would be severely punished. With no mercy, he carried out a drastic and ruthless purge at court. Some described Zhu Yuanzhang as culling meritorious officials like mowing grass, and this was true. However, Song Lian held a unique position. He was not only a prominent official at the court, but also the crown prince's mentor. Zhu Biao, known for his benevolent and sincere nature, shared a father-son bond with Song Lian, offering a spiritual reliance. The ancients said, "A teacher's kindness is as great as a mountain." But could this bond withstand the test of imperial power? Zhu Biao resolved to give it a try. When Zhu Biao learned of Song Lian's arrest, he was seized with anxiety and sleepless nights. He tried the usual methods of pleading, kneeling and begging, weeping bitterly. But Zhu Yuanzhang simply responded with cold, "Exterminate all 9 clans." This statement was like a bolt from the blue, leaving Zhu Biao feeling despair. However, Zhu Biao did not give up. The next day, he made a surprising decision to die in remonstrance. By the palace pool, he awaited Zhu Yuanzhang's arrival, preparing for his final stand. Zhu Biao's plunge into the water was no joke. It was a manifestation of his unwavering conviction. While the state has laws, it needs the brilliance of humanity even more. This scene terrified the guards present. They had never expected the crown prince to protest so decisively. After Zhu Biao was rescued, Zhu Yuanzhang was stunned. Even with his iron heart, he couldn't help but feel a flicker of concern for his son's safety that after all, Zhu Biao was his heir, and if anything happened to him, he would regret it for the rest of his life. Finally, Zhu Yuanzhang compromised, but his words remained unforgiving. "You're risking your life for a minister. Is it worth it?" Clearly, Zhu Yuanzhang was torn between the fate of the Ming dynasty and the crown prince's life. What truly troubled Zhu Yuanzhang wasn't simply the deep bond between father and son, but the fact that the bloody turmoil of the early Ming dynasty had finally opened an unhealable rift. Though Song Lian escaped death, his grandson Song Shin was executed, and his entire family was exiled to the frontier. Zhu Biao fought tooth and nail and ultimately saved his mentor's life. However, fate twisted his ways, and Song Lian tragically passed away on the way to exile. Upon hearing the tragic news, Zhu Biao felt devastated. As the crown prince, he had failed to protect even his mentor. This was when the many conflicts began to surface. For example, a dispute between neighbors could be resolved through mediation and reconciliation. However, if the head of the household insisted on being impartial, reconciliation would become far more difficult. Zhu Yuanzhang saw this as more than a simple neighborhood dispute. It was a crucial decision concerning the country, the people, and the world. Zhu Yuanzhang's seemingly cold and ruthless decision was, in fact, informed by the context of the times. Coming from a humble background, he ascended to the throne not only through courage and ruthlessness, but also through a resolute determination to not show favoritism. The dawn of the Ming dynasty, establishing authority was paramount. Any laxity in the law could lead to unforeseen events. Can the law is unforgiving truly protect the country? No one can definitively answer this question. However, Crown Prince Zhu Biao's reaction reveals another truth. Under iron laws, people's hearts can easily grow cold, while tenderness cannot replace the system. A rule lacking human touch that will not ensure long-term stability. Zhu Yuanzhang worried that indulging family affection would undermine the law, but he overlooked the crown prince's reliance on scholars and the flexible governance needed for the country's future. This was also a major problem in the late Ming dynasty. The law was harsh and lacked flexibility. When the emperor aged and the crown prince ascended to the throne, a gentle approach could no longer cope with the turmoil left by the previous dynasty. Zhu Biao's overly lenient character raised doubts about his suitability for the throne. Another intriguing incident Zhu Yuanzhang clearly defined rewards and punishments when dealing with the guards who rescued the crown prince. Those who jumped in first were promoted 3 ranks. Those who hesitated were exiled or executed. This demonstrates that Zhu Yuanzhang valued determination above all else in his personnel. In his view, firmness of stance was even more important than talent. He sought absolute loyalty, not ambiguous deception. The significance of this father-son conflict, which endures through the ages, lies in its stark exposure of the 3 contradictions of imperial power, law, and human nature. No one can offer a perfect solution. Imperial family affairs hold up a mirror reflecting the stability of the state and the fickleness of human nature. Ultimately, power struggles and emotions cannot be reconciled. No wonder Zhu Biao could never let go of Song Lian's passing. It wasn't just a regret. It also marked an unbridgeable rift between his human nature and his role as crown prince.